Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got John Richardson, and today we're going to be talking about healing cancer, long-term success stories that we want to share with you today. The mainstream media and the mainstream healthcare system is convincing you, or trying to convince you, that there is no miracle cure, but we don't call it a cure because it's like being thirsty. You can't cure thirst, you just have to keep drinking water. But we have the solution and the success stories to share with you today that we can eliminate cancer altogether. John, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
Oh, Nick, such a wonderful thing to be on your show. I look forward to it every time. It's you have a great audience that's waking up to the fact that they've been lied to about their health and so many other things, and the system's collapsing in a way that people don't have to believe it anymore. That our side, our awakened minds are winning the battle. And so this weekend, I was just in Las Vegas, Nevada, beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. No, I didn't do anything wrong. I met with a bunch of amazing healing doctors at the A4M conference. It's called the Longevity Fest. And there was just tens of thousands of doctors and people, all interested in changing the paradigm from the old system that just covered up whatever symptoms we had, Nick, whatever it was that we came to the doctor with. They just gave us a drug or a pharmaceutical. The new world that we're living in is waking up to the fact that this body can heal itself if given the proper nutrition. However, there is an ongoing battle with this stuff called GLP-1s, these weight loss drugs that are injected, which I'm here to tell your audience, avoid like the plague. It's not, they've always got to find a way, Nick, to make a ton of money off us while keeping us in the system, because these GLP-1 drugs may, in fact, cause us to lose weight, but it's weight that's being lost at the risk of our long-term health, meaning we're not going to survive these weight loss drugs long-term because they cause so much damage. They're actually poison. So we want to cover both of those things kind of on our show today.
Well, I have to say there have been a number of people that I know in my family and around my friends groups, and I've noticed there's a trend going around where people are taking Ozempic or GLP-1, and there's another one called RET, and they're promoted as peptides, and I don't quite know the detail of it, but I do know, and I've witnessed a large number or minority of people that have just dramatically lost weight recently, substantial amounts of weight, and they've always been overweight or quite large for decades. And all of a sudden, there's this trend that's arisen, that has rised up, where people are taking these supplements, and they're just weight loss miracles. Why don't you tell us about that? Do you believe that this is a recent trend that's damaging people's healths?
Absolutely. It's not a supplement. I wish it was a supplement. I wish it was something natural that people were taking. I wish it was they were doing exercise or eating right, because that will give you longevity. Weight loss by giving somebody weight loss by poisoning them, literally poisoning their intestinal tract and poisoning their stomach and causing their stomach not to feel like it needs to have food, or you to feel like you don't need to have hunger. You're literally starving yourself while you're poisoning yourself with this GLP-1s. Now, I'm not going to just sit down here and give you a scientific explanation of it, Nick. It would be beyond my scope, but I do know this, that the countries that are manufacturing, like Sweden, that manufactures these semaglutide drugs, don't even allow them to sell it to their own population. So what does that tell you? Who's the biggest market of obese people, because we've built this obese nation in the last 50 years, is the United States of America. We have a 50% obesity rate. Our children up to 12 years old, diabetes is a third of children being diagnosed with diabetes. It's because we feed them nothing but sugar. We feed them nothing but glucose. Again, another subject for another show, but the answer that we're going to do is the quick fix answer that we always do in U.S. medicine. Hey, we got to do something quick. So we inject them with poisons, with snake venom or conch venom or sea snail venom or anemone venom. There's all different types of venom that are being used by semaglutide, tirzepatide, dulaglutide, liraglutide. They have other names. They call it every different name, but they're all fixed in this GLP-1 grouping that all causes you to stop eating, to paralyze your stomach and your intestine, and actually have food that you've eaten rotting in your stomach. And so it's from the doctors that I trust and from the scientists and the studies, it's well documented, Nick. This is literally killing people and making people sick. These people that are losing this tremendous amounts of weight, if they're not at the same time changing their diet and exercising and doing the right things, they are literally starving themselves. And when they get off the semaglutide drugs they now have to use forever to keep themselves poisoned, if they get off those, then they immediately gain the weight back, and they've now caused probably cancerous lesions to develop and all sorts of horrible things. So these are not miracle, wonderful drugs, no matter what anybody thinks, because the original reason for these semaglutide and GLP-1s is for type 2 diabetes management. And I'm here to witness to you, Nick. There will never be a drug that will help people wipe out type 2 diabetes. It only can be done, and is done very successfully, with diet and nutrition. I know MDs across the United States. I don't know the specific ones in the UK, but I know MDs across the United States. They're using diet and nutrition and lifestyle changes and wiping out, I can't use the word cure because there is no cure for a metabolic disease, but wiping out type 2 diabetes, meaning someone goes from being type 2 diabetes for 20 years and now they're not diabetic at all anymore. And they've gotten off these drugs like the GLP-1s and all the $100 million worth of drugs that we prescribe for people that are pre-diabetic. You ever heard that term? I got pre-diabetes. That's like saying, Nick, you're pre-dead. I think I'm going to get in a pre-accident today. I think it's
pre-cancer.
I'm a millionaire. I'm pre-cancerous. These are all terms to get you into the medical industrial complex before you ever have any symptoms of the disease. It's a scam, and that this weight loss GLP-1 scam is just another one in the long list. So I just caution people. This show is not really about that. I caution people not to just say, "Oh, I can just get this injection and everything's going to be great." No, you're on the track to, it's not if you're going to get colon cancer, it's when you're going to get colon cancer. It's not if you're going to get stomach ulcers, it's when you're going to get these things. So you might have this weight loss where you're starving yourself and poisoning yourself, but the side effects are going to be horrible, and the multi-billion-dollar lawsuits are already lining up. They're already lining up. They're already being filed in the US.
Now, I know we spoke about this before the show, but I want to tell you something because I wanted to wait until we're live. But I actually have a confession to make. I actually used the GLP-1 myself, and I was recommended by somebody we both know. Okay, yes. And I don't want to say her name. And, I get it. There's people trying and testing and learning, and that's part of life. We learn. But I am a witness that when I took it myself, I lost quite a bit of weight, or the last part of the belly fat, if you like. And as soon as I had a bowl of pasta with a few jalapenos in there, it upset my stomach. I couldn't eat for the next 2-3 days. I kept vomiting. And I lost so much salt water in my body and I was so thirsty that every time I had a bit of water to drink with electrolytes, I just kept throwing up, and I just kept throwing it up, and I just kept throwing it up. And I was so hungry, and I was so starving. I was like this for 3 to 4 days, no food. And it was terrible. And then after that, I said, you know what? I'd rather have a small belly and enjoy my food and just be normal. I'm not going through that again. Honestly, I would rather. Yeah. And do you know what? Do you know another thing that I don't like? I don't like the fact that people are using these medicines or injections to lose weight. What does that do? That removes mental discipline, and you become less disciplined. And I said to myself, I want to practice my mental, my brain to become disciplined naturally, because that's the person that I want to become. I want to become a disciplined, strong person. So that's what it does as well. It weakens your character because you're relying on medicine that doesn't require hard work. So that's another thing that I wanted to say.
Well, I appreciate you telling me that. And because I do know people that have done that. and have had the same kind of results. And I don't shame anybody. I don't say it's wrong. I mean, I've got people that have gotten the COVID vaccine that are friends now. They weren't enemies before, but they've woken up now. They realize, oh my God, I've caused all these other physical problems. So we've now created these other problems. But the benefit of that may be that we're going to go the other direction and eating healthier and taking care of ourselves more, because we realize, wait, we tried to jump on that bandwagon and we were told doesn't have any side effects. Well, that's what the marketers are telling people, just like, oh, safe and effective COVID vaccines. These things are causing turbo cancer. And I know you and I have talked about it, about the Italian study of over 300,000 people that were injected with a COVID vaccine as compared to the population that weren't. The people that were injected with a vaccine got quicker rates of cancer overall, 60, 50, 70% higher rates of cancer than the people that were never injected at all, or the people that had gotten COVID and never got the vaccine. So getting the vaccine was a cancer death sentence, but they didn't tell you that. They didn't tell people that when they were saying, this is going to keep you alive. This is going to keep your grandmother alive. You're going to celebrate the holidays with your relatives. Nick, what do you want to do? Kill your grandmother? That's what we were lied to. So I don't fault anybody that got these vaccines, but now I'm offering the fact up to these people that even though you made that mistake, now you can reverse it. We've all made mistakes. We've all, I drank too much at a party in college and passed out and, regretted it. We've all made those mistakes, but it's learning in our life that we have to go the other direction will give us this long life. Dick Van Dyke, the famous actor, I don't know what he's done, but he just made it to 100. So, if a guy like that, an actor in Hollywood, I don't know, hopefully he hasn't done that horrible thing that we all know that actors in Hollywood do. I hope not, but he looks good. He's older. And so we should be able, these human bodies should be able to, if we're taking care of ourselves and using, the therapies like my dad used back in the 70s. He's got patients that are alive 50 years later, Nick, that were sent home to die of terminal cancer back in the 1970s that are still alive today.
And that's amazing. And I can't wait to go into this. But just before we do that, I want to say that the food that the government and our healthcare system allows for the public to buy and eat and consume, like especially fast food, and the medicine that they prescribe are most probably causing a lot of cancer and other diseases that we don't even know to which point. Okay. Yeah. And we done a video last time, our last video, which I urge for all people to go and watch, which is on Rumble. It's on YouTube, but it was taken down by YouTube. And it's now on Rumble. And we were talking about how we can help people, how we can reverse cancer, how we can eliminate it. And this is a true story. This has been proven, and it's here right now. And this is why we have these, this is why we have this platform, because this is an alternative media where we are here to expose the control system. And we are here to tell you not to believe the lies the government is telling you. And we have the solution for it. And our video was censored. It was removed by the control system, by YouTube. Okay. And we did our best to work around the words. And I was not using any words. And that shows you how deeply they don't want people. What possible reason, Nick, if we've got all these thousands and thousands of case histories, hundreds of doctors. I met some this weekend, by the way. I met a doctor that's been working. It was an amazing story that's been working in the metabolic treatment of cancer for 30 years. And he worked for a doctor that worked for my dad. My dad had a doctor named Dr. Brody at his office in Albany, California. And that doctor opened a clinic in Reno, Nevada. And I met a doctor named Dr. Sean this weekend. I'm gonna tell the world about him as soon as I get all his connections and everything. We just met this weekend. We couldn't believe it. But the guy he used to work for 5 or 6 years in the early 2000s has passed, but he's continued on the tradition, but he's kind of been underground because we don't really know. So here this guy, Sean, who I should have known, I just met for the first time this weekend in Las Vegas at this A4M conference, where we're talking about natural God-given healings, but at the same time, these GLP-1 drugs, because the pharmaceutical industry will look for any avenue to sell more of these poisonous drugs, they were there as well. It was like a competing world.
we're competing all the time, whether between the big pharma world that wants to just make as much money off us as they can, and the natural world that wants to heal us and have us live to be over 100 years old.
Absolutely. And I urge people to go back and watch this video because it is available on Rumble. Go to my Rumble channel and click on videos and scroll down a month ago, 4 weeks ago, and watch that video. It's very important what we're doing here. We have a mission to really expose the truth and to expose the control system. And there's a lot of people now, creating a parallel universe or a parallel Earth where there's, into freedom and sovereignty and organic information, not following any kind of narratives. Now, tell me, how does the GLP-1, John, tie into cancer? Can that cause cancer?
Well, yes, it's pretty much because, well, here's the thing, Nick. The beauty of what you understand about cancer is that cancer is a metabolic deficiency disease. So if you're eating the proper foods, including amygdalin, which we've talked about on the show, B17, it will kill the cancer before it ever metastasizes. But if you're taking in things like 5G or poisonous food or GLP-1s or the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, these are all immune system destroyers. They kill your T cells. They destroy your body's normal immune system. So if you're already deficient in the nutrient called amygdalin or B17 that kills the cancer cells, then when cancer cells are created by these outside forces, your body doesn't have any defense mechanism. So when I say, will GLP-1 cause cancer? Well, what it really does is it causes the destruction of your body's digestive tract. So that therefore you have rot of the food that's in there and it's not being digested properly, and you've taken away your body's immune system. So now if you have cancer cells that happen every day to every person that are improperly multiplying, those cancer cells aren't killed before they metastasize by the amygdalin because you don't have any amygdalin in your system. So it's a double whammy. So I know that sounds, when people ask me, do these vaccines, these COVID vaccines cause cancer? They increase the rates of cancer, but they also create the rates of cardiovascular disease, all these other diseases are increased too because they're immune system destroyers. Just like the doctors are coming out all over the place and telling people that chemotherapy is an immune system, a T cell destroyer, meaning if you're already susceptible for cancer, if you already have cancer cells in your body because you have a deficiency of vitamin B17, then the fact that you're doing these things is going to increase your rates of cancer. So I don't want it to sound like, just take the apricot seeds and everything's wonderful the rest of your life. But if you have the proper cancer killer by eating the proper foods, organic, non-cooked foods, then you can avoid cancer. Even if you've had these other destructive things or injected yourself with the COVID-19 vaccine or any of these other drugs or even the GLP-1 drugs, you can avoid it. And we've got lots and lots of cases that people have come back from death's edge that have been injected with these pharmaceuticals, and they're now healthy people but they have to be conscientious. They have to be on top of it because their body's immune system has been decimated. It's like a war of your body's immune system.
I think anyone would be on top of it. Otherwise, it's death, really. Right. Can you tell me what's your favorite top 3 success stories with reversing cancer?
Well, there's so many thousands, but what I want to do is to remind people, and we've talked about the other video, but remind people of my dad's book, Laetrile Case Histories, the Richardson Cancer Clinic Experience, written in 1977. Now that is almost 50 years ago. Now imagine most cancer patients, that you think of, we think of people in their 50s or 60s. So if there's some stories from 1970 that were in their 50s or 60s, those people would be over 100 years old, right? Well, there's stories of people that have lived 50 years after being sent home to die. And I have 5 of them, but I don't know if we have time to cover them all. So I'll just cover the 2 that I think are kind of the most descriptive. And let me see. Let me pull it up here real quick.
Sure.
Oh, goodness.
My favorite one of them that I am aware of was a 12-year-old, and now she's in her 60s and she had leukemia.
Yes. Yeah. She had leukemia. She was at Sloan Kettering, and her name is Chris. And she was at Sloan Kettering in 1975, and she was going there for a year. She was getting methoxytrate and thiazone or something, deadly chemotherapeutic drugs. And her story at 12 years old was that every day she'd come home from Sloan Kettering, she'd pull over, they'd open the car door, and she'd lay out on the ground and throw up for 30 minutes. And she'd finally get back in the car. She lost half of her body weight at 12 years old. You can imagine how tiny you'd have to be. All of her hair. She had missed her entire 7th grade year. And at the end of the year, Sloan Kettering had nothing better to tell her. They said, well, we just keep continuing. The parents just saw her dying and wasting away. And so she was getting ready to start her 8th grade year. Her brother was thinking that she was done with chemotherapy. She went back and they said, nope, you got to continue with the course. And they, as a family, they decided we got to find something different. So somehow they found out about metabolic therapy, and they found out about my dad in California. It's a little bit of a longer story, but they immediately went out to my dad. And the first time after this year of being poisoned for a year, the first time she was injected with amygdalin, Laetrile, at my dad's clinic in 1975, she went home and she had a horrible migraine headache. And her parents got together and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, is this the same stuff? Are we doing the same thing? We've driven across country. They reached out to my dad. My dad said, no, sweetheart. They told the family. He was very loving and said, no, you're just detoxifying. Laetrile is a huge detoxifier. So you're going to see pain relief. But yes, I'm sorry that this migraine is a symptom of your body detoxifying for all these poisons that you've been taking for the last year. So they prayed and they thought, okay, we're going to continue. That was the last side effect she ever had that was negative. From that point forward, when she would go to my dad's clinic and get the therapy while they were living in a hotel, she was feeling better. She was getting energy, so much so that her and her mom would go over to the bowling alley across the street from my dad's medical practice, and they became prolific bowlers. They became friends of the family. She got invited to my sister's wedding, who got married back then. She was growing up. She was 12. She grew her hair back. She was gaining her weight back. And a year later, she was completely cancer-free. And that was from her own doctors back in New Jersey. In 2005, Pat Griffin reached out to her and found out she was still alive, doing well. She was doing well, and she was in her 30s. And then in 2025, I had never met her or heard of her. She sent an email to us and said she'd seen a video of me on YouTube, of all places, and found out that I was continuing my dad's mission. And she wanted to reach out and tell us that story. So I've since learned from her that she's turning 64 this December. She sent us photos of her son graduating from college. He would have never been born. Of her grandkids that she plays with and has popsicles with. They would have never been born. And so she was very thankful towards my dad, but she had lost track of my dad because in 1988, he passed away, as people know. So in 2006, after she got the update, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Because she didn't know anybody that did anything, she reached out and found out how she can get B17. Not from me, not from anybody I know. She found it on her own and started injecting herself instead of doing chemo radiation, and the breast cancer went away. And then so she stopped doing Laetrile. She stopped eating the protocol that my dad had given her. And in 2017, it came back again, and she started injecting herself again, and it went away again. So now she knows that she's got to regularly eat amygdalin in the form of apricot seeds or capsules, not wait for it to come back to treat it. That's why, Nick, I talk about Laetrile is not a cure in any state for the C word. It is a preventative and a treatment that you need to stay on. You need to have amygdalin to kill the cancer the rest of your life. So I just interviewed her for an hour. I'm happy to get her on with you for 20 minutes if you want sometime. And it's an amazing story. So, yeah.
Wow, you telling that story just gives me goosebumps. I'm emotional, about that. It's a really good story.
Well, it's true. It's leukemia, and it's 100%. We can wipe it out. Now, I can't say cure, not just because I'm afraid of anybody. I don't believe that diet and nutrition are a cure. I believe they're a prevention and stopping you from having a metabolic disease like rickets or beriberi or pernicious anemia. These are all deficiencies of vitamins. And I truly believe, Nick, in my heart of hearts, that 95% of the diseases that people are walking around with and getting drugs injected into them for are all deficiency diseases, because our food is horrible. Our food is so processed. In America, If 20 of the ingredients on any kind of snack food are chemical, they're poisons. They're either, to have it have shelf life or make you be addicted to it or make it be a better color. And they're all been proven to cause disease, and they're not healthy for you. So not only is the food that we're eating over processed, that's what's killing us, but also they're full of chemicals that are poisonous. So that's why we have to change our diet. We have to eat more natural diets. And I'm on this mission with thousands and thousands of other MDs right now that are telling that story.
My last very important question is you were saying that what's her name? The person we were just speaking about? Chris, yeah?
Yeah.
So she was injecting herself, okay?
Yes.
How does one know how much obviously they don't have injections, they have apricot seeds.
Yep.
How does one know how many to eat per day? And is there a specific exclusive customization for each patient?
Well, the answer to that is my dad said in the 1970s, along with Gio Griffith and other practitioners, that a normal, healthy American should have 100 milligrams of amygdalin a day. That's what my dad said. Now, doctors that are practicing now in this world of poisons and injections and 5G and horrible food in the 2000s tell me a healthy American should have 250 milligrams a day. A healthy Englishman should have 250 milligrams of amygdalin a day. An apricot seed contains about 20 milligrams. An apple seed contains about 1 milligram. Lima beans contain about 1/10 of a milligram. So the average American gets less than half a milligram a day because we overcook our food. It's GMO'd. They've removed the seeds from apples and watermelons and everything. So that causes us to have to supplement with one way. So you can either eat 12 California grown, 12 and a half to 13 California apricot seeds a day to get that 250 milligrams of amygdalin, or you could take a capsule that has 100 milligrams, or you could take 5 of our seed caps that have 50 milligrams, or you can just change your diet, Nick, to have all these foods, which is much more difficult in today's world, but to have the foods like lima beans, millet, barley, sorghum molasses, all sorts of beans, black-eyed peas, millet, all of broccoli sprouts, cabbage, all of these have amygdalin in it. But many of these foods that I've just mentioned are bitter, or when they're over processed, they take it out of it. So you don't need John Richardson. You don't need a special, meeting with a special doctor. You just need to find foods that are high in triglycerides. And many of those are found in foods like the people go on the Mediterranean diet where they eat raw foods. They eat raw carrots or raw kale or raw things. That's not fun necessarily, but there's so many great ways to eat a diet that's full of nitroglycerides, that's still tasty, and still be able to eat your meats and your things like that as a healthy person, but you got to get 250 milligrams of amygdalin a day. Now, once you've had it and you've talked to somebody that's being injected, you want to get as much into that person's body as their immune system can handle. So most MDs that see somebody that has full-blown C word, or we can call it cancer on Rumble.
We can.
Most MDs start with 3-gram injections and work their way up. Now, this doctor that I met this weekend that worked with my the doctor that worked with my dad, he said he's done up to 29 grams, which is tens of thousands of apricot seeds. He's done injections of up to 29 grams. I myself have taken 12 grams, which the vials, the injectables come in 3-gram injections. But this is when you want to have a doctor's advice. You want to have an integrative doctor so that you're doing it. But there is no poisonous level where you're going to get cyanide poisoning. That's the big lie that the big medicine has said, to stay away from things like apricot seeds. We've recently done a deep dive study with an MD friend of mine, Dr. Margaret Aranda, who's an anesthesiologist, a head of anesthesiology in Philadelphia. She deep dove into all the studies about cyanide poisoning and found, Nick, not one death in the last 100 years in the US, and not one death worldwide, other than 2 girls in Turkey 62 years ago that supposedly ate way too many wild apricot seeds, and the hospital assumed that they had cyanide poisoning. But we even believe that's not the case. We believe they had a rhodonase deficiency, and that's why they died. So we've done a deep dive, Nick. It's a lie. You can't take too much. It's less poisonous than sugar. Sugar is the thing that we should be afraid of and scared of and not eat, not be afraid of amygdalin for its anti-cancer properties.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Well, John, thank you very much for sharing everything with us today. I love it. I'm going to leave the link below in the description so that the viewers can click and have access to the apricot seeds and much more that you're doing as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yeah, just if you believe in our message, you want to help us get it out there, and you want to tell people about it, go to owwc.org. You get a free copy of World Without Cancer, and you can follow along with us on this mission. If you want to donate at the year end, I don't know what taxes are like in the UK, but in the United States, it's a 501c3. You can donate to help us make the book and the movie and get this story out there, because the other side has trillions of dollars, Nick, to fight us. And we just have the kindness and goodness of people's hearts and souls to get this message out so that their family members don't need to die needlessly of a disease that's completely preventable and completely treatable.
Absolutely. Well, John, thank you very much. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless.
You too, Nick.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.